Online participants, can you hear me? Online participants can hear me. Good. Thank you.
Yes, Geshe-la.
Thank you. And the offline participants, Milinji, can you hear me? Milinji, can you hear me? Okay. So it is always a great delight for me to be here in Pune University. And of course, my long-term, very many years of the friendship with Ashijin Zubinji, WCCL, and then many of the senior, I would say, the students of Ashijin Zubinji, and now taking charge of all these programs. Yes, of course, there are many teachers coming to center through Ashijin. So whenever I come here, we see that the senior students, who Professor Diogarji very clearly indicated, like Ilenji and Neerajji, Sharmilaji, and then Charuji, and then we have Varsha, and yesterday Anujaji and Nemaji, and Nemaji's husband Vivek was very interesting. I learned a lot about MTS from him. Not that he taught me MTS, he said something and actually it's MTS concept. Amazing. And I met a number of the friends, long-term friends, and also newcomers yesterday in Animaji and Vivekji's place. And they both online, offline. So it's a great joy for me to be with all of you. And then I can see that there are many new faces here. And okay, the just the recent those who are hearing me for the first time in your life. Raise hands. Okay, offline, online. Okay, offline. Yes. Okay. Um. So what we will do here is going to be a little technical, and yes, I'll try to make them as less technical as possible, but not. I would not really compromise with the technicalities for the reason that there are many seniors who have been into Dharma for the Buddhist philosophy and psychology for many years, and they also need something to take away with them. And then the um, Professor Mahesh Devgariji and Dr. Ladaji. It has been actually many years again that knew them, and then the that our friendship has been deeply rooted, all because of my deep admiration in Professor Mahesh's scholarship, his insight, his wisdom, and his gentleness, passion, and his ability to make things work in a very humanitarian way. I was just pulled by his qualities so greatly, and it's been many years of our friendship. So I'm extremely grateful and always happy to meet him and to learn from him. This is amazing. And Jyotish is here. Jyotish, huh? Okay. Okay. So I have the and oh yes, Audrey. Audrey is there, and then now the senior the students of we call it Pune Kanzen. Kanzen means say the monasteries. Monasteries, one monastery to run the monastery effectively. That is split into like my monastery is split into 23 or 25 divisions, and each of these divisions are known as Kamsen. Kamsen meaning a set of a house containing a set number of students. In some cases, very small, some cases huge, like 300, 400 are the monk students. And in some cases, it's just about like 10, 12. Okay. So from here, there's always a feeling warmed. And then yesterday actually was yesterday, 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago. Nirjul was telling me that for the retreats which we conduct, and now very soon there's going to be a very technical retreat on the ontological reality, what constitutes ontological reality, and presentation from the different philosophical perspectives. And finally, um, boiling down to what we expected to understand to stop all our tears of samsara, all our fears, anxiety, and so forth. And so, for that matter, we have to bring about a cognitive transformation. And to bring about cognitive transformation is not just like from based on belief, but based on your, say, the cognitive, the ability by sharpening your cognitive intelligence and thereby penetrate with reality as deep as possible. That is what we're expecting. And so for that, we have usually it may take like, say, to really be very get to the core of this philosophy, it will take many years. But then given that the students, the many of the students from the Nalanda Masters Course Batch 1, undertaken of Tibet House, Delhi, Cultural Center of Influence, the Dalai Lama. The first batch, we had about like 460 students. They already graduated 5 years of the course. And these students were expected for that retreat. And then we also made it open to the Nalanda Masters Course Batch 2, which is already, I think, about like a little over, I think about like 2 years now finished. the next batch again for meant to be for 5 years of the course. So we made open to the second batch as well. Total, and we have about like maybe a little over 2,000 students doing these courses from NMC 1, NMC 2, but the retreat is happening in Deer Park. It's just open to the public, not the public in the sense, to these two batches. So there's going to be a very technical course, and I understand from the feedbacks that I get from the different people that when people jump into this course directly, it's very difficult for them. They cannot really make it, and so therefore we made the steps. And now we have now in the introductory course, which is for the 7 months, 7 weeks, and then Nalanda certificate course, which is for 2 months, and Nalanda diploma course, which is within 1.5 years, and finally Nalanda master's course, which is for 4 years. Total, we have 4 courses. So what I'm saying is that the 2 days ago, Neeraj was joking to tell me that now the from Pune comes in, Pune group, Pune Sangha, many of them, they're already very senior. Now they are sending the representatives, younger ones, Varsha and Sonal, to the retreat. Okay, so this is what he said. Now he's sending the younger ones. Okay, as that's going to be quite a technical retreat. And likewise, this 3 day course as well is going to be a little technical. And of course, we'll begin with the basic, creating the basic foundation. Why we require to analyze on the relationship between the brain and the mind, and what exactly is brain, what exactly is mind, and what's the relationship. Are these two different entities or single entity? And we know this. What do we know that? And if you know that, what's the benefit? And then, so all these things, we'll try to make it as comprehensive here. And my friendship with Ashish Zubinji, it has been many years. We started that as personal friendship. The first when I was in, I don't know, that was the minor Buddhist psychology here in Delhi, at Delhi University. I don't think that was yet started. 2008, I think, 2008 or 2010, that was in Mumbai giving a talk on series of talk on Buddhist philosophy and psychology. And Ashaji happened to be there. And then she came to Delhi to take more lessons on Buddhist psychology. So this is how we developed this very strong friendship. And finally, when Professor Paul Ekman, who most of you heard of his name, Professor Paul Ekman, when he came for an interview with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, whose book is now available for the last many years, Emotional Awareness. How many have read this book? Emotional Awareness. Or how many of you have heard about this book? This hands. Okay, yes. So this book I would highly recommend, particularly as students of Ashish Zubinji, I would highly recommend you to read this book because that author of the book of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, co-authored by Professor Paul Ekman. So it was in the interview which eventually culminated in the form of this book. Interview, which actually the whole interview was last for about like 3 years and spread over 54 hours of the Professor Paul Ekman interviewing His Holiness and bring up his own views and the listening to His Holiness views. So this is the outcome of that on those interviews. And the last interview, the Professor Paul Ekman was there, and I know how much Ashish and Zubinji drove them. They were so keen to know about interaction between His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Professor Paul Ekman. And then I just invited them to come to be introduced to Professor Paul Ekman directly. So they just flew to Delhi, and then I took them and to Professor Polyban. Professor Polyban so kindly received them and shared his thoughts, and there was a beautiful meeting. So that is the book. That book is going to be very precious. It can be a little technical, because Professor Polyban himself is very technical, and His Holiness is the giant of the Buddhist psychology, and he knows about the whole the academic system of the whole world, psychology, philosophy, science, and so forth. So therefore, this book would be highly recommendable for the people who are studying psychology, be it Western psychology or Buddhist psychology. So, having said this, um, the 3 day the workshop or the presentation. The From tomorrow I'll have the PowerPoint, and because it will involve some technical parts for it which require the citations so forth. For that I require the PPT, and yes, I'm expecting Jaruji help me with that. So this is one thing. And then yes, the 3 days at the last session, I'll try to keep the major part of the last session every day for 3 days to question answers. So if you have any question, not necessarily confined to the topic that we are discussing, but of course, if you say have direct questions related to directly related to what we are talking, that would be very good. But then even if you have some other questions related to Buddhist philosophy or modern science, Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist psychology and the Western psychology, or say the bridge between Buddhist psychology and neuroscience and so forth, just feel free to bring them up. It doesn't mean that I have all the answers. So why I'm encouraging you to come up with questions is for the reason that these questions are very important. It's not that somebody should have the answers to all the questions, but these questions, particularly which are the answers very complicated, these questions are extremely precious for all of us to as takeaways and to contemplate more. Because I personally would say that on the talks that I gave, the teachings that I gave 20 years ago, today when I sometimes people send them and I don't want to listen to them. By chance, if I happen to hear some of these, it's like a small children's talk, small child's talk. This is what it would sense. And this is what I'm saying is that we all grow, we all grow. So these questions are very important. The questions, particularly, but don't think that, oh, I must come with the very complicated questions. If I don't have complicated questions, then people may look down upon me. No, don't think about this. A question may sound so simple to you. It may seem so easy, silly question, but it may not be silly. It can be a very serious question to other people. And so therefore, I'm encouraging all of us to come with the questions. And the way you like to speak directly, you ask questions directly, or otherwise, and bring them the written on a piece of paper and submit it to here. The Charuji, Varshaji, you submit them to these to them, and they will bring them on my table, and that'll be very good, very helpful. Okay, so this is one thing, and it's going to be interactive. Once in a while, I'll ask questions to you. You can also bring questions up, raise hands, or any kind of clarification required. The first, this topic, the paradox of brain and mind. In other words, what's the relationship between the brain and mind? This is a very heavy loaded question. And I may give you some backgrounds, incidents that happened, and so forth, in order to get to this level. And then it will also include some meditation on the mind, which we will Because of course, when I explain something, so this is all coming from my point of view and what I studied and my contemplations of the last over like 25 years, more than 25, almost 30 years of contemplation on this issue, the brain and the mind paradox. And then but it doesn't mean that you have to follow what I'm okay, he contemplated all this for like many years, so it must be right. No, don't, never follow blindly, never, never ever the say follow the irrationally. So always try to be as rational as possible. And if you don't agree, it's fine. There's nothing wrong. If you don't agree, if you find it, the sometimes what we require. This is also another thing. When I say when I encourage people to be very rational, it doesn't mean that simply because it doesn't resonate with your thinking, this is rubbish. No. For example, like E equals mc square. If this equation were to be taught to the students of Newton, they will say it's rubbish. It's not rubbish. The hardware of the computer, their hardware of their computer needs to be upgraded. Newton students, they only believed in the relativity of space, could not conceive of the relativity of the time by the Newton and the Newton students. Then with the paradigm shift in physics, with Albert Einstein, and then the contemporary to him is Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, and so forth. Then Albert Einstein came with the relativity theory, and others came up with the quantum physics. So there's a paradigm shift there. With the paradigm shift, with the advancement of relativity theory, equals mc squared becomes a very well-known equation, well-accepted equation, which was totally alien to the Newtonian physics, Newton himself, and his students. So what I'm saying is that simply because a concept doesn't resonate with your thinking at that particular moment, doesn't mean that you have to discard it as garbage, because that your thinking may require to upgrade it. In other words, your thinking is like the hardware, and what you're learning is the software. And the hardware that you bring from say 50 years ago, that hardware cannot work with the software developed today. You agree? You agree? Okay. So the point is that we need to upgrade, but although your hardware may not be too sophisticated, it may be from 50 years ago, but it can be upgraded. You can upgrade the hardware so that the today's software, very sophisticated software of Arinagarjuna, Acharya Vasuman, and these sophisticated software can be very compatible, can go compatibly well, and then you will see the wow, this is amazing. Okay, so the yes, of course, it's going to be interactive. Meanwhile, I'm encouraging all of us, including myself, to be as objective. And the questions, any question that you might have, please feel free to bring them down. Okay, so um, first, let me quickly say it's all about the say the brain and mind. Why this topic becomes very important is you have to know the background. You have to know the background. Okay, anyone? I just like to ask this out of curiosity as to why do you think that this topic is very important? The paradox of brain and mind, or the relationship between brain and mind. Anyone? You don't have to say that brain and mind are different, or you don't have to say these two are one. Don't make a very quick conclusion. Just pick your mind why this topic is very important. Yes, over here.
It's very important.
Why?
I have one, and all the others around me also have one.
So,
It's very important because he is around it. Thank you.
okay. Your name?
Funny.
Manasi, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Milinji.
So, you got five of this.
Okay, for the online purposes, is there anybody you have the mic? Oh, okay. So the Charu is so kind. Start with the questions for the online participants. Thank you, Charu. Okay. Yes, Milinji. Okay, understanding the paradox or relationship with the brain and mind, whether this adjusting, same, whatever, help us to understand what consciousness is. But what I say, if you understand consciousness, okay, look, all these questions are so important. Don't just get stuck with one layer of the question, right? It doesn't mean that question is wrong. Question, it can be deeper question to the question. So why that understanding of consciousness is very important? Why? Like if you have not thought about it, don't worry. Think about it over there. Okay, with the help of the brain, we understand the mind, and this will help us to progress along the spiritual path. Why do we need spiritual path? Okay, look, I mean, but his mind, he's asking this question. Why do we need spiritual path? And so, like, he's against, some people, they think that I'm against spirituality, right? Okay, yes. To understand the purpose of life. Okay, your name? Shivam, thank you. Okay, here. Your name? Priyanka, yes.
We need to have this understanding to know why, why we do the things that we do, understand the intention behind our actions, that how our mind works.
To understand how our mind works, and then to understand the intention behind our activities, our actions. Good. Anyone else? Yes, here. And don't worry.
It, brain and mind, it works like a software and a hardware, and it's a correlation there. So we need to learn about both the things. Then comes the consciousness.
Okay, so if the brain and the mind, these two words are hardware and software, I didn't say that. I said that you're thinking, be it on the brain level or in the mental level. So that thinking is like the hardware, and we need to enhance, enrich this hardware for thinking. In other words, to make your thinking more sophisticated, more intelligent, so that the sophisticated topics can be, you can have the capacity to understand the sophisticated topics. This is a very important point. Why I'm saying this is that how many of you know the story that Albert Einstein, as a young boy, not as a young boy, as a young adult, he was doing a PhD, and then he submitted his PhD thesis, and not that his proposal, research proposal. So when he submitted that, the vice chancellor of the university assigned two professors, very senior professors, to assess the proposed research proposals of the students. And finally, the two professors, they decided on Albert Einstein, to pick up Albert Einstein as the candidate for the PhD. And the vice chancellor asked the two professors, okay, who's your candidate? And they said, unanimously said Albert Einstein. And why? And the answer they gave, listen, they gave that we read his proposal, we do not understand anything what he wrote. We do not understand anything what he wrote, but we can sense that this is a very smart person. You're getting it? So what I'm saying is that, so even the professors, they couldn't understand what this boy wrote. But so professors knew that their hardware, their thinking is not as sophisticated as this boy who wrote this research proposal. So which means that what I'm saying is likewise, our there is a thinking capacity. If we always go blind faith, we just keep believing somebody, our thinking will never grow. So therefore, I'm saying always think out of box, think out of box, and always rationalize. Always rationalize. For example, say Albert Einstein. I would say that he is like the Albert Einstein, Niels Bohr, Newton, Galileo Galileo, all these people.
They are seen as the epitome of the intellectual, the success. Well, we can also ask them the question they believe. Say, what makes Einstein believe in on the relativity nature of the time? What makes him believe in this? We can ask this question. Oh, he said it. He is the epitome of the intelligence, and it must be correct. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. Why I'm saying this is wrong? It's not that you should be rebellious. It's not the point. The point is that if you never ask how E equals mc square, if you never ask how E equals mc square, you can never become a good physicist. No matter how many times you recite this E equals mc square, 100,000 times with the mala, with the rosary, 100,000 times, you will never resolve this E equals mc square equation. You will never resolve it. You will never learn how to derive it. So we have to question it, learn how to derive it. Only then we will become a good physicist. If you keep going with the blind faith, just thinking that what they said is correct, if they then follow it, this is where we can go wrong. We'll never grow ourselves. So therefore, we have to grow. We all have the capacity. We all have the capacity to be as brilliant as Albert Einstein, but not necessarily in this life. But we have to think of, and this is again another serious question. Okay, so the girl over here. Uh, that's very interesting. So in fact, the what's your name? What Vinicius is saying, correct me if I'm wrong. What Vinicius is saying is that the all what we're doing, whether you're happy, not happy, is determined by what we do. And what you do is determined by your thinking. And thinking is done by the brain and the mind. If you don't know how the brain works, how the mind works, then we don't have the mechanism by which to operate very effectively. If this doesn't happen, then you're the joy that you want to embrace and the miseries that we want to shun. We cannot, say, effectively go after these. This is a very good point made. Okay, the lady over there. Okay, my question, why do we need to study this? So the girl here said that we need to study this because if you don't know, if you don't have the clarity of how to do what is brain, what is mind, what's the working of the brain, what's the working of the mind, then given that these two are the things which dictate our physical, verbal, and mental actions, and which in turn dictate the joys and sadness, so forth. So if you don't know the root, the main agent, then we cannot really have much say on what we're doing, so forth. So we cannot be very successful. But in getting what you want, in getting rid of what we like to shun. Okay, anyone from online? Online, you have any question? Say you have your response. Okay, if not, it's fine. Good. So we see that there are many hands coming up. So now let's go a little further. And at the moment, I'm trying to create the background. Okay. With the emotions, it's very strange that very strange that when I was very young, I used to be extremely fascinated. I'm sure you have this. We all share the same the thought that when I was young meaning when I was maybe like age 10, 11, 12, I used to be so fascinated that the little boys and girls, age 1, 2, they run naked. They don't feel ashamed of, you know, their bodies. And then when you reach age, what, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, then you become more conscious. And then it's so weird that, you go naked. It's just wondering. And then just like myself as a little boy, as age 5, 6, 7, going out naked, and then these young boys and girls, age 1, 2, they go naked without any, they say mentally not disturbed. So what is that thing that stops me from being as free as these little boy and girls like age, and they say 2, 3, 2, 3, but 2, 3, age 1, 2, 3. This was a major question that stuck. How many had a similar question that came to your mind when you were young? Raise hands. 1, 2, 3. I'm sure many of you. Yes. And then later on, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in his public address, what His Holiness said, is very interesting, it's very funny, and deep thought which never occurred to me. And His Holiness was talking about the mosquitoes, compassion to all the sentient beings, including mosquitoes. And His Holiness said that, say, sometimes when I'm in a proper mood, good mood, then mosquitoes say, come, I give them blood, meaning that let them land and let them suck blood. But I don't know whether they feel gratitude to me. It's very funny. At the same time, it's amazing. This thought never come to me. And now intellectually, when thinking about it, yes, that's true. They don't have sense of gratitude. Thank you, your Holiness the Dalai Lama. Thank you for blood. No, there's no sense of gratitude. He or she thought that I got the blood and I got the food, and then flies. So this sense of gratitude again, it comes to not all the animals, human beings we have, and some dogs. I don't know whether they have. But that affection is so strong, and the sense of commitment, integrity that the dogs is very strong. They're very loyal, unlike the human beings. They're extremely loyal. It's amazing. But do they have any sense of gratitude, sense of shame, so forth? Do they have it? These are very serious questions. Okay, so now, then the emotions. We see that the emotions manage our life, manage our world, and then with the advancement of neuroscience, then the brain concept of the brain comes into being. The neurons, brain. Then they say, on the one hand, the psychologists, the classical psychologists, versus the Western psychologists like Freudian psychology, the Jungian psychology, they talk about the psychology. And then in Asia, the psychology was extremely strong, well established. And neuroscience is now coming up, and neuroscience is all about the brain, psychology is all about the mind. And what are these two things? These two are same or different? Then the question comes. And this question it takes you to a deeper implication of the human society. What this girl said. Okay, this girl, what's your name? The girl over there, yes. Benija. What she said, like what she said, is all about the human behaviors, and on that basis, let's say that they say a system where, okay, wow, okay, till what time? 11. Okay. Okay. So, and some of you may feel that the study of psychology, the brain-mind relationship, and so forth, it's more for a personal matter. It's not with the global. It's nothing to do with the effect on the global community and so forth. How many let us be very honest, and how many think that, for example, the economy, the globalized economy, the global warming, and so forth, this is something global. For example, say the COVID-19, this is more global. Whereas the study of the brain and mind relationship, this is more personal matters. Okay, and then the say the brain and mind is one different. So what? So and then still you will continue do your own work, your business, your school, or whatever you do, and then you carry your own life. So it doesn't really have a global effect. But how many you think like this? No one. Okay, how many think it's global? It's a very serious matter. Okay, okay. You think this is a very serious matter. And what about those people who did not raise hands? In both cases, right? Not too sure. Right?
अशा
Okay,
प्रकारे
not too
ठेवा
sure.
जिथून वरचं छत दिसेल स्वयंपाक हे करता गेलं ना व्हिडिओ व्हिडिओ ऑफ केला ना
Okay, so I would say that this is a very serious matter. Okay, these are very important. I'm trying to create the foundation for a discussion. Already got a clock. Okay, and the this is so what happened was that I was brought up like Ishmael, like you. I was brought up in a community where the belief in rebirth is taken for granted. In a Tibetan community where rebirth is taken for granted is there. So likewise, majority of you, I would say, unless you were born in a family where your parents are extremely educated, that they become like atheists, they become like the agnostics, and they're not interested too much into spirituality or religion, or this is matter. You're not so interested. I would say, in a way, if you belong to this category, I would say you are very lucky. You're very lucky. At the same time, if you're born in a place where a family where there's a very strong religious the practices, you're also lucky. Because that the finally we see that generally speaking, people who believe in some form of religion versus not believing at all, integrity, generally speaking, integrity wise, those people who believe in religion, overall speaking, average, those people who believe in religion, the integrity is better. But it doesn't mean that all people who believe in religion, the integrity is amazing. No. They're very complicated gurus. Somebody who really supposed to be seen as the epitome of the religion, and then the ending up into exploitations. These things happen. So what I'm saying, generally speaking, this is it. At the same time, so where you have no belief at all, okay, I don't believe in these things, then you have room for the rationality. Because when somebody speaks rationally, it makes sense to you. Because you are not, don't come with the baggage of your own belief system. So your thinking is extremely, it has become very fertile land for you to cultivate the intelligence. So this is again good in that way. So why I'm saying this is that these philosophical thoughts or psychological thoughts, concepts, they actually shape the whole community. For example, so where I am brought up, and where most of you are brought up, there's a belief system that rebirth is there. How many agree with me? Okay, not about agree. Just tell me, say, those of you who are brought up in a community where community or family who very strongly believes that rebirth is there, karma is there. Raise hands. Good. Like myself. And suddenly I entered in Cambridge after completing my PhD. Lucky. Not PhD, PhD in Buddhist philosophy and psychology. So where the studies in these concepts is so strong. So I entered into Cambridge University. And nobody talks about rebirth. Nobody says there's no rebirth. Nobody says there is rebirth. But I was amazed, shocked to see that the whole system was built on the belief that there's no rebirth. Nobody says that openly. Nobody will say that there's no rebirth. They will not even talk about it. They'll not talk about the rebirth. They'll not talk about the absence of rebirth. But the whole system is designed on that. Whole community thinking is designed on this new rebirth. How did I know that? Was that when I was there for a while, like 1 month, and then I started to feel something that my belief in rebirth starts to be questioned. Somehow, say nobody was telling me anything, but that was coming to my mind. You take for granted there's rebirth, but how do you know that there's rebirth? So, for example, many Tibetans, many Indians who went to America, went to, let's say, the Europe, they come back very different. Their thinking changed. So what I'm saying is that this question came to me. So then I realized, okay, this concept. These concepts actually shape the whole system, whole community, and the communist thinking is actually built on these philosophical systems. For example, like Charles Darwin. So where the whole community believes in Charles Darwin very strongly. But what is said is scientific. Scientific means stamp to say that is accurate. Right? This is the stamp is scientific. So where somebody believes the whole community builds up with the belief in Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory. And there's nothing wrong. Is it wrong? No. It's not wrong. What Charles Darwin said is not wrong. His holiness the Dalai is practical, very realistic, very practical. So what his holiness said is that there's no contradiction between the Buddhist psychology, Buddhist philosophy, and the Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory. There's no contradiction at all. So whereas if you only study the Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory, or if you only study Buddhist philosophy or any kind of say Sankhya tradition, Vedanta tradition, or Mimamsa, Charvaka, or Vaisheshik, or Jainism, Sikhism, only one part, you don't see the bigger world, bigger picture world, then you say the system that you create around you can be very different. So it was very fascinating discovery that when I was in the Cambridge, England, and slowly I could see that there was not a shift, but a question coming to my mind. How do you know that there's rebirth? Then this question about the brain and mind is very important. Okay, so it can actually affect the whole community. I'm being affected. Somebody who's already trained to learn about the brain and the mind. And yet, even that person, after being trained for so many years, even that person's thinking is being shaken from the core. When you are in that community where nobody's telling you there's no rebirth, prove it. Nobody. Still, the system is affecting me. So because then I've got to discover that is because deep inside, the whole system is built on the Judeo-Christian background, which means that there's no rebirth. You die either hell or heaven. Finished. There's no rebirth. So it was constructed on this belief system that affects the whole community. And they say you go to Cambridge, majority are academics. They're all academicians. Whole town. Say it is like the town of the scholarship. Still, given that the whole system was built on this the belief that heaven or hell, after your death, the final judgment. So because of this, the people thinking of the whole community changed. Okay, this is one thing. And so with this in mind, now these thoughts, how did it come? So I like to create a little bit of the background. Let's say that these emotions predominantly they are in the human species. And you go back in time, let's say that the universe, the visible universe, not the whole universe, the visible universe, we see that the scientists, economic physicists will say that it came from 15 billion years ago. As some say it's 13 billion, some say 14 billion, it doesn't matter. 17. Nobody can say it with great the precision. That's 15 billion years. The Big Bang happened, and they say at that point, within the span of the universe, the visible universe, there's no emotion, there's no human beings, there's no even the mind, but it's within confinement of the visible universe. When I say visible universe, it doesn't mean that there's some abstract universe outside. The universe, the part of which and the light cannot reach us at now. So to talk about this universe, some information should come to us. And that information is carried by the lights. So that is the only to say that, okay, these universe exist, not exist, and so forth. So that is, we can speculate that they are, for example, there were some on the planets, the solar systems, or the stars, whose light come to us only last year, only 10 years ago, only 100 years ago. 100 years ago, did they exist or not? They did exist, but we had no clue because there's no information. Now, after 100 years, this information, we got the information. So this is how we talk about the visible and the non-visible, the universe. And the visible universe will keep expanding, not because the universe expands, is that because we get more information, we can know more of the universe. Okay, 15 billion years ago, the Milky, what is that? The universe that we are part of, the what do you call it? The visible universe. It came into being from the singularity. And keep in mind that the physicists, earlier when I was in class 12, I think about like 30 years ago, when I learned about this, I learned that whole universe came from the Big Bang. Big Bang, singularity. But later on, I came to learn that this is not like consensus. There's no consensus among the physicists, as let's say, many physicists, but what they all agree upon is that the visible universe, that we see around came from the Big Bang, singularity. This is for sure. But then what is before this? What is before the Big Bang? What is before the singularity? Again, there are divergent views. Many physicists would say that there's nothing beyond this. That is the beginning of the whole universe, time and space. And some physicists like Roger Penrose, Professor Roger Penrose, who became a Nobel laureate in 2020, 2020. He got the Nobel Prize in Physics. And Professor Michio Kaku, who's a renowned physicist in the world. So both of them say that Big Bang is not the beginning of the universe, that there should be something beyond this. And of course, Einstein will also not be happy with that, because that he believes in what is known as cause-effect relationship, the physical law governed by the cause-effect relationship. So this is the Big Bang. Then what happens from the singularity, the Big Bang, and then all the galaxies exploded out of this. And the part of which is the Milky Way galaxy, which we are a part of, Milky Way galaxy. And Milky Way galaxy, it says, is about 13 billion years, which means that it exploded from there, from another galaxy, and then further exploded up to like 13 billion years. And the solar system, which came out of the Milky Way galaxy, is about like the 4.6 billion years. Solar system, 4.6 billion that it came out of the Milky Way galaxy. And then the meaning that the Milky Way galaxy was not like a galaxy in those days, it's just a chunk of matter combined together, all pulled by gravity, again exploded, and then the one part of which is the solar system that we have today. And the 4.6 billion years. Then planet Earth came out of the sun around the same time, 4.6 billion years. Then the planet Earth, it's the planet Earth. Okay, the planet Earth, then gradually it cooled down. It cooled down and the water was formed. Okay, now the story comes. So that is 4 billion years. 4 billion years that the water formed. Now look how crucial the water is. With the formation of water, then unicellular organism came around the same time, 4 billion years ago. Unicellular. That is our first ancestor. That is the first ancestor. Now we talk about the emotions. So do they have emotions? Is a very like very, very rough what is the speculation? So unicellular organism. And then like 2 million years, 3 million years, dinosaurs. And then I think about like 1.6 million years, the what is that? Homo habilis, right? There is the one group. Is now our ancestor, Homo sapiens ancestor, like the say 1.3, 1.6 million years. And finally the Homo sapiens, 0.3 million years. Okay, so from this is how the evolution happened. So till the point of Homo sapiens, there's no religion, there's no philosophy. We have to know the facts. So don't become emotional. Oh, I'm a Buddhist. He's saying there's no Buddhism before that. I'm a Hindu. There's no Hinduism before that. Oh, I'm Muslim. There's no Muslim before that. Don't be emotional. We should accept the facts. If we don't accept the facts, then the purpose is defeated. We'll never grow. So, what is a fact? Fact. Learn this. This is very helpful for us. Okay. So, with this, then the emotions came into existence. Say 0.3 million years ago, Homo sapiens. It's just like the cave men and women, no philosophy, no religion, and then they're so scared of the thunder. Oh, there must be Asian there, which is more powerful than us. So god of thunder, and all the gods started to come. Started to come. And then in the winter, so fire is very helpful. It protects us. It protects us from the animals also. Wild animals, they cannot come to attack us. They are afraid of fire, god of fire. So these things happen. And then meanwhile, the human thinking keeps growing the last 300,000 years, which means 0.3 million years ago. So since the human emotions. Now, very sophisticated emotion. And it can keep growing. Keep growing, I don't know. I would say I keep changing. Rather than growing, I would say keep changing. Whether it's we change to something better or worse, we never know. In which direction we go, we never know. And this is interesting. Then the next part is that then the next part is the human emotions. And human emotions, they decide what we do. Good things, bad things. Oh, don't steal. No, as long as the police doesn't see me, I don't mind. Corruption, I don't mind as long as nobody catches me. Or no, whether somebody's there's God, or Buddha is there, or Jesus Christ is watching us. We should not be doing that. So, say people have different belief systems. These belief systems, they decide what actions you engage in, what kind of community it becomes. So therefore, your emotions play a very important, because your actions determine your world and yourself. Your actions are determined by your thought processes. Your thought processes. Okay? And then these thought processes can be very divergent in nature. Some thought processes will encourage you to steal. Some thought processes encourage you not to steal. Some thought processes encourage you to be loyal. Some encourage not to be loyal, right? Divergent thought processes are there. So where is this coming from? Okay, there's the brain there. The brain there. So now, say the brain and this mind, are these one or different? This is a question. And this is a very serious question. So with this in mind, what I would say is that say that the brain and mind say if the mind is purely brain, it's purely brain, then and if this system spreads, this belief concept spreads in the community, what could be the danger? What could be the consequence? I wouldn't say danger, but we should not believe. We should not begin by saying that, oh no, for the benefit of the community, we should believe that the mind and brain is so different. No, don't go like this. We should be very objective in our approach. We should know the reality. Then the reality is that brain and mind is so one. Then we cannot force them to be different. And the reality that these two are different. Know that these two are different. Know the reality. Then on that basis, see how much this knowledge can contribute to the flourishing of the human community. This is it. So, so with this, how many you accept that how many you accept you believe that all what we are doing, being nice to your family, not nice to your family, or you good to yourself, integrity, not laziness, or not spending so much time after the Instagram, Facebook, or no, I just I'm tired of the university program. Now let me rest, 15 minutes rest, and 15 minutes change to 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. You don't feel tired, right? Meditation, 5 minutes, right? And then after 5 minutes, then you feel like this, and then you drink water 5 minutes. And Instagram, you don't drink water, you don't do like this 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. So what I'm saying is that these are all determined by your thinking. How many you agree with this results? Thinking. And so some thinking, so because that this is all determined by thinking and your thought process. Your thought process, they say your thought process, this is something that it can make you lazy. Thought process can manifest you as a lazy person, or can make you as somebody who is extremely punctual, precise. All what you do is all determined by your thought process. Makes sense? Good. Now, next question is that this thought process, what is that? Is that a part of mind, or what is mind? What is thought process? How do you define these things? And then what is brain? What is mind? What is consciousness? Consciousness and mind, are these two different? These two one? Or the thought process of the mind, are these one different? Mind and consciousness, one different? So all these questions are there. Okay, now what I would suggest is that if you ask me which of the two versions is correct, which of these among these different versions are correct, let's say thought is a part of the mind, mind is a part of consciousness, number one. Number two, thought and mind, these are different, and the mind and consciousness, they are different. Another version. Some may say thought is a part of the mind and consciousness, they are different. So different versions are there. And so depending on what kind of people who are exposed to some form of the, say, theology, religious beliefs, you have already heard something. And those people who are not exposed to these things at all, and you may be a little mentally feel intimidated, very complicated thoughts, mind, consciousness, whether they one different parts, subset, and so forth. Whereas you may feel a little intimidated, vast array of knowledge is there. Okay, nothing to feel intimidated, one. Number two, that just keep aside all what you've learned before. Keep aside all what you've learned before. Don't forget them. Don't forget them. Keep them aside. Start from a clean slate. You're getting it? Start from a clean slate. Don't mix what I'm sharing with you here with what you have heard before, what you've read before, what you've learned before. Don't mix them up. So, but don't forget, what you've learned can be very useful. We never know. So now why I'm saying don't mix is because that say I tell you two versions. If somebody asks me as what kind of people came to your lecture, if somebody asks this question to me, then okay, if somebody asks you the question, what kind of people came to this lecture, then you say I will give you two options, and which would you say is correct? One would say that okay, in the group there are two kinds of people. One is males, and the other one is non-males. This is one way of saying. Another way of saying is that this the group, the class that was organized is of two kinds: offline and online. Right? Which is correct? Both are correct, but it's a different way of presenting it. Both are correct. There's no contradiction. So sometimes we are so caught up with the labels that, okay, he said online, offline. So I'm following him. I'm following his, I'm following his class. So he's my guru, right? So he said online, offline. So what kind of audience you have? Online, offline. No, it's males and non-males. No, that's wrong. No, what a big deal. It's just vocabularies. It's a different way of they're looking at the taxonomy, the classifications. It's a very different way. Both are correct. What's wrong? So likewise, why I say they keep aside what you've learned before, what you've read before, and so forth. This can actually hijack our concepts. So when you know that, okay, this is a broad way of thinking, both are correct. There's nothing wrong. Then from there you go back. You may see that what I've learned is not to be discarded. He said it. He did not say discarded. He just said keep it aside. Now I can see that there's a beautiful blend of the two. There's nothing wrong. There's no contradiction. So some people say that no, mind is not consciousness, mind is intellect. The consciousness says the soul and so on. Some said no, these two are one. Some say that no, this is a subset. No, what's a big deal? It's just labeling. You're getting it? What is the audience here? Online or offline? Is correct. What's the audience here? Males and non-males, females and non-females. What's wrong? The audience here, say the 25 years old and below, and 25 plus. Raise hands those who are 25 and below. 25 below. Raise hands. Neeraj? No? Okay. So, okay, raise hands. Raise hands. 25 below, raise hands. Okay, when I say this, those who are 25 below, they're very happy. You know why? I create a label of you are young. Those who are not 25 plus, they're a little sad. He's saying that we're old. So look, the classifications, they make us emotional. You're getting it? They make us emotional. And then we're bound by the emotions. And then we talk about, I am this, I am that. Oh, I'm Hindu, I'm Buddhist, I am Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm Jain, I'm Sikh, I'm non-believer, I don't believe in any of these things, right? What is this? They're spiritual, inferior. We are, more what? Huh? More sophisticated, we're high level, we don't believe in the superstitions, religion, right? So this all the classifications which arouse emotions in us, and the emotions trap us. This is a problem. So therefore, we need to maintain a very open mind to see that they are actually many of the concepts, there are no contradictions. The labeling can be different, but there's no contradiction. But don't say that, don't say that good and bad, they're the same. It's just a matter of labels. No, good and bad, good and good, bad and bad. There are things which are differentiated with the difference in the labels. Concept can be same. There are things concept-wise they can be different. We have to have the sharp intelligence to see what is and what is not. This is very important. So with this in mind, the question. Okay, let us say first of all, say in this course, particularly for. Okay, I don't know. I cannot speak on behalf of other teachers, but when I speak, particularly in the academic institutions like universities, I'll always keep it as rational as possible, as non-religious as possible. This is very important. So having said this, so all what we are trying to learn, even the labels that we learn, make sure that when I use these labels, you actually know what the reference of these labels are, what these labels refer to. You have to know that. For example, how many of you have the feeling that there's yes, I have the experience of sadness, I have this experience of the happiness presence. This is reality, right? This is reality. Okay, only if you agree, present. If you don't agree, don't present. This is reality. Yes, I'm sadness. And yes, sometimes when I say something, the people they really appreciate. They really appreciate my intelligence. Sometimes what I say is very stupid. Present. This is also reality, right? Okay, good. So let's say that the happiness and unhappiness, they can be manifested outside with your physical glow, how you talk, the tone can be very different. But what is going inside, what you feel, is not 100% coming out. Sometimes something of this can come out, but not fully. Makes sense? Okay, so what is that? You have the first-hand experience of what's going in you, what's going in you. I'm not saying mine, what's going in you. But people cannot see that 100%. Some people, they can be very sad. They may not express it. And some smart people can sense it. Okay, today he's not talking a lot. He may be a little unhappy, right? He may be a little unhappy because I can see that he's unhappy. No, because he's not talking a lot. Usually he talks very freely. Oh, he's not talking today. He must be a little sad, right? You go there and ask, it's okay. And the person maybe express it, oh, no, today I'm not okay. Some say, yes, I'm very okay. Actually, you are not okay, right? So what I'm saying is that there's something there inside which you have experienced, which others cannot see in you. You agree? Okay. So that, and then with intellectually speaking, say, okay, I said something and the person appreciated. I said something and the person thinks that I'm stupid, right? So this purely a cognitive activity of your mind, cognitive activity. So there's something there inside which does that activity. That also people cannot see. People cannot see, but you know what's going inside you. So that thing where all these things have, which not visible, but where things are happening, sadness, anxiety, and the say intelligence, compassion. Some people are very compassionate, but they don't express. People may think that that person is very cold. How many of you know of such people? These people, you will know them as compassionate only when you mix with the person for an extended period of time. Till that point, you may feel that this person is very cold. You're getting it? Okay. So because you cannot see that, it is inside. And okay, then if you send this person, if you put this person into the fMRI scan, the fMRI scan with the brain, even the brain, you cannot see that. You cannot see that. And I'll talk more about it later. It's not that I'm just, saying this, and you must read the book by Professor Michio Kaku. Professor Michio Kaku, who wrote the book, The Future of Mind. The Future is a best-selling book. It's amazing. It's a best-selling book. Future of Mind. The Future of Mind. And, okay, we'll stop here. You break? Yes. We'll continue. Okay, online participants, you are there? All the online participants?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we are resuming this session, and where we left in the first session was about the book by Professor Michio Kaku. The book, the title which is The Future of Mind, and is a best-selling book. And keep in mind that he is not a neuroscientist. He's a pure physicist, but his skills are just amazing, multi-talented. And this book is purely on neuroscience. And the good thing about this book is that he being a great physicist, he has good connections with the other scientists, neuroscientists. As such, what he brought there, these are all with the data which he got from his neuroscientist friends. It's a very authentic book, and it gives us many information, which what you call as a paradox between the brain and the mind, particularly with respect to some of us, we tend to be a little naive. We think that neuroscience means they know everything. And what are the limitations of neuroscientists? And what are the things which, like, say, the progress made the last 100 years in neuroscience, and what is the approach at the moment? We cannot talk about what is the approach to neuroscience in general, because neuroscience is again a constantly evolving the discipline. And so at the moment it is more a reductionist approach. Reductionist approach as to say the mental functions based on the workings of the neurons, workings of the brain, and brain too, in the taking a reductionist approach to explain things. So in this connection, I just like to say break some of our belief overconfidence, or let's say our over expectation of what a neuroscience is like today. For example, we think that many people, they think that the brain and mind is all one, because that the neuroscience is now developed to a great extent, and they can see what's going on in your mind, and that's not true. Why it's not true is that these are the facts. In fact, I would highly encourage all of us, including myself, to be fact-based. Whatever you think, whatever you say, whatever you interact with the other people, and base them on facts is very important. So let's not speculate too much. If you speculate, just is my speculation. Don't think that don't give the impression that this is real. So the one thing that you can find in this book is about how the brain and mind, they say the functions of the brain, which you are so aware of, are the neuroscientists are not aware of. So it's for this reason that the neuroscientists, they're creating mental dictionary, which they try to correlate with the mental activities, with the brain activities. They try to correlate the two with the help of dictionary. And how do they create the dictionary? So this will tell us that but not all, but many of us, they have a very naive belief that the brain and mind, these were just identical. And the neuroscience, they know everything about the mind. This is the too naive in ways that how they make the dictionary is that, for example, say they don't know. For example, say you are thinking of you are let's say that due to some information or some news, tragic news, you have a fear, and you may not exhibit physically or verbally, but you have the fear. And the neuroscientists, they cannot actually see that you have the fear. So they put you in the brain in the scan, fMRI scan. Then they create the dictionary. How? So you must read this book. This book, word to word, the Michio Kaku's book, The Future of the Mind. So this will beautifully tell us, this will really unravel what is the current status of the neuroscience. And then you will not exaggerate, you will not underestimate. And the so what is said is that say that the deliberately they put the human beings in under the fMRI scan, and then they design this machine in such a way that you can see movies, you can watch movies in this. And the neuroscientists, they deliberately show you some very, very scary movies. And there's no choice. You keep watching it. It's very scary. And then meanwhile, they are mapping your brain. And just which part of the brain is activated, which part of the neurons are fired. So this is what they are checking. On that is okay. So with this, you're very scary dream. I know that this person is very scared now mentally, very scared. Then on the brain level, this part is activated. So they said that this part of the brain is meant for the fear. So this is how they create the dictionary. In future, if they see that a patient with this part of the brain activated, okay, now he or she is going through a fear. So they based on this the dictionary that they've created, not because that they are seeing the fear. In other words, it is known as they infer. Through this dictionary, they infer the presence of fear through seeing the neural firings happening on the brain level. Okay, this is where the brain and mind, the distinction is there. But when I speak of the distinction, it doesn't mean that these two are totally different. They occupy two different spaces in time, or these two are one. So we are not yet deciding anything on that basis. So we just say that this is a fact. This is a fact that you can see what Professor Michio Kaku wrote in his book, The Future of the Mind. Okay, so with this in mind, at the moment, so basically what we do is that we'll talk a little bit about the brain, we'll talk about the mind, and then how the brain and mind, they can be different or same and so forth. And then what they say, the one book that will be extremely helpful for all of us to study on this topic is the Pramana Vartika by the great Indian master Acharya Dharmakirti. Acharya Dharmakirti, 7th century AD, which is like 1,300 years ago. Acharya Dharmakirti. And the book is Pramana Vartika. Pramana Vartika, and it has 4 chapters. Of the 4 chapters, now this topic is particularly dealt with in chapter 2. Chapter 2, establishing rebirth, establishing that the mind is different from the brain. Okay, so we'll also do that part. That part requires a little bit of technical thing, which I will have to use my PPT. because I have to say draw the citations. I cannot just give you a rough idea. I have to actually use the citations from the script master. I would say that usually people, how many you heard about people doing research on this rebirth, and then yes, there's the young children remembering their past lives and so forth. Just reasons who heard about these things. Okay, so in fact, I personally would say that this is my personal take. My personal take is that they say I can use these as for me to get conviction. Say somebody tells me stories about a young person remembering past lives and so forth, but I cannot use that as a reason to tell others that there's rebirth, because the moment I share these anecdotes, it becomes like a story, and stories anybody can cook up. So therefore, it may make sense to me, but this is not really a wise approach to let others to share it with others, that for others to gain conviction. It will not really give conviction in the intelligent people. For the average people, it's fine. It's very interesting. You may get more conviction. But for intelligent people, it doesn't make any sense. Stories. So this book by Acharya Dharmakirti, Ramana Vartika, this is the book, logically explaining about rebirth and the mind as different from the brain, without sharing any story anecdotes, without sharing any anecdotes about somebody remembering the rebirth and so forth. But of course, if you have personal stories which happen to your family members, which happen to your friends and so forth, yes, they're very precious. But if you use it to explain to somebody else, this will not much use, particularly for the intelligent people. This will be I would say, is not really too useful. For you, it can be very useful. For example, say I encountered with several situations. They're very useful. Some anecdotes about people remember their past lives and so forth. Very useful ones. But I don't share this with people, because that the moment I share this, then it becomes a second hand. The first hand experience that somebody experienced, I learned it, is very helpful. The moment I pass it down, the first one, second one, and then the third one. So the moment it comes down, it becomes more and more dilute. So it doesn't really make much sense. Whereas if it is based on pure logical reasoning, that's very, very helpful. That can be sustained for years on end, for like 100 years. For example, Acharya Dharmakirti, he wrote this text the 1,300 years ago. And still, this best book to talk about rebirth. In fact, rebirth is a concept which is being accepted by almost all Indian traditions, except Charvaka. There's Charvaka tradition which doesn't believe in rebirth. Otherwise, Samkhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshya, Mimamsaka, Vedanta, Jainism, they all believe in rebirth. So I would say that thus far, they say I'm exploring with this any other tradition, and I don't say my percentage is more like I believe in more empirical rationality. And if somebody talks about something which I cannot really be convinced, then I keep it neutral. I don't reject, I don't accept. I keep it neutral. This is my take. And where if it's empirical, something which I can understand, I adopt it. It doesn't matter where it comes from, because it is human knowledge after all. Human knowledge, I'm a human being. It's human knowledge. It's so precious. So therefore, what I'm saying is that I want to see everyone rather than myself. Thank you. Okay, so with this in mind, for this session and maybe the afternoon session, let me introduce you to say what is mind first. What is mind? And then from tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we'll do a little bit about what Acharya Dharmakirti said logically, how did he explain that brain and mind is two distinct entities? And then the one part of the session, maybe closer to the end, we'll do some kind of meditation. Meditation on what is this mind, which we're going to learn that it is different from the brain. And then if you have any questions about this, I'll be very happy. Any questions about this, particularly if there's somebody from neuroscience background and you can speak something about the neurons, how the brain and the mind visualize same. If there's anybody with such information, that would be very helpful for all of us. In fact, the thing is that I speak about concept A, and somebody says that, oh, there's a concept which is not necessarily A, is like A-ish, right? It's so good for me. I'm growing. So this is how we all have to grow. Okay. So having said this, then we'll do a little bit of the meditation on what this mind is. What this mind is, which transmigrates from one life to the next life. And of course, before that, we have to explain, say more rationally, say what could be the reasons for us to think that there's a mind different from the brain. This is a very important topic. Okay, and once in a while I also share with some anecdotes that happened to me, interacting with physicists, interacting with scientists, interacting with my friends, and then some kind of interaction which can be very helpful for all of us to learn about. Okay. The first thing is, what is mind? So when I ask, what's the difference between thoughts and the mind and the mind and the consciousness and so forth, as I ask you to keep aside all what you learned before. So just see that, but empirically, we get sense. For example, like, okay, you can see that in your family, okay, he is kind, he's not so kind. You know that. It's not about the body, it's about something, a mental quality. So kind, not kind. Oh, she's intelligent, she's not intelligent. He's kind, he's not kind. So we see that, say, one is the element of compassion, kindness, degree of compassion. One is the degree of the intelligence. These are all not visible. Not all visible, but you can feel it. You can know that. You know that. It's not visible. This is not physically visible. So just by seeing the person, oh, he's very intelligent, she's very intelligent. No, you cannot judge it. Some people, they may look so dull, but actually they are genius. You're getting it? So this is because of this, we say what? A book is not judged by the cover. You're getting it? Which means there's something which we cannot see, is a not visible thing, but still there's something there. They call which is so important, the quality of compassion, quality of anger, quality of intelligence, and so forth. These are all happening in a non-tangible level. You're getting it? Non-tangible level. Whatever you may call it, consciousness, the mind, thinking, intellect, whatever you call it. So for time, we just remove all these labels. For time, just they call it as, let's say, an agent which is empirically experienced. I can experience the empirical meaning something which anybody can agree. Nobody can deny this fact that, oh, she's compassionate, she's not compassionate. He's compassionate, he's not compassionate. He's intelligent, not intelligent. What? So he or she is good in public relations, and she's so hopeless in public relations. And somebody who's a very genius in mathematics, but public relations is hopeless. These people cannot be administrators. You're getting it? And whereas the beautifully amazing administrators, some of them cannot be in the laboratory. Because laboratory, you need a sense of creativity, you need a sense of precision. Some administrators, they lack the precision. And some brilliant minds, genius, they're hopeless in public relations. Public relations, another skill, is a mental skill. And being genius in a particular field, that also requires another skill. So these skills are all not to be seen on the physical level. This is seen on the non-tangible, non-physical and is not visible, but then is undeniable reality. Presence. That makes sense. Is an undeniable reality. Yes. So that agent, we call it as, for example, here. So these are all human beings. Is undeniable reality. Yes. So likewise, there's some intent in what is that? Intangible object, which has the capacity to express, say, the compassion, express intelligence, and the, say, public skill in public relations, and who can think far away in time and space, and some cannot think far away. So it's all happening on the non-visible, non-visible level, and yet there is undeniable agent there. We call it agent. It doesn't matter. And by when I say agent, don't think like God or some. Oh, there's some entity there, which thinks, which has the ability to feel compassion, which has the ability to feel the judgment, proper judgment, the visionary, and so forth. So there is some non-tangible agent there. So in a loose sense, today we call it mind. Don't mix that up with the mind that you have learned before. Just that thing which all undeniably accept as something which have the ability to express compassion, which have the ability to compute things, which have the ability to be lazy. You agree? Which have the ability to be lazy. You have deadlines. Yeah, but Instagram, 5 minutes, right? To be lazy. So these are all the invisible entity that is working. So that we just loosely call it as a mind at the moment. So that in a way, what we are trying to learn here about the paradox of brain and mind is that the brain, which is visible, and there's not the invisible entity, which is the undeniable reality, which anybody can say that yes, this is reality. So that is known as the empirical reality. Anybody can experience empirical reality. Okay, so let's loosely call it as a mind. Now, the neuroscientists who are, who are without any religion, when they say mind, they mean this empirical reality, undeniable empirical reality, which is not visible, yet undeniably a real, undeniably an entity which functions to think. So that is what they call as a mind. For those the scientists who don't believe in any religion, for them, mind means that mind, the empirical entity, which has the capacity to express compassion, empathy, laziness, intelligence, and so forth. That's the mind. So, what is this mind? This is what we are discussing. You're getting it. And later on, when you're very thorough with this, and particularly I would say that, let us try if it makes sense to you. If it makes sense. Once it makes sense or you understood it well, if it doesn't make sense, just bring your raise hands, right? But don't bring the information that you already have from the past. Then it can take us months and months. You're getting into 2 days, 3 days is nothing. Okay, we can cover anything in 3 days. So we just start with the clean slate. And then from the whatever you have learned, and if you're convinced, then try to correlate this with what you've learned before. And oftentimes we see that there's no contradiction. We can read them so beautifully. Okay, so with this mind, then what is this empirical so-called mind? The non-tangible entity, which is the central figure of you, central figure of the world. So the Albert Einstein, this is very important. And later in my PowerPoint presentation, I will also share this statement made by Albert Einstein. He said that why the world is going through a crisis. He said that the reason for that is because of the optical delusion. Optical delusion. What does it mean by optical delusion? That we have a sense of I, and you. So is he talking about the empirical reality or he's talking about some abstract idea? Huh? Is the empirical reality that we are creating a division between you and others? Is it true or not? Right? That's true. So from me and my neighbor, right? My neighbor, right? Your child, somebody says, "Oh, your child is so good. Your child is so good," and you're very happy. And says, "Oh, your neighbor's child is also good. You're not too happy." You're getting it. This is empirical reality. You're getting it. This is empirical reality. Okay, so this is what I meant by empirical reality. So let's not bring any esoteric concepts. So based on this, then later on, if you're interested, then very sophisticated concept known as the subtle mind and the gross mind. These distinctions will come later on, but not now. For the time being, we have to go through the empirical reality, which we all can grossly the experience, articulate, and feel. Okay. So what is this mind, which we all agree upon as the intangible entity which thinks, which can feel empathy, which can feel the pain, sadness, joys. So, okay, by the way, how many of you agree that that is such an entity? There's such an entity which feels, which is not tangible, but it can feel the empathy. It can feel compassion towards others. It can have the intelligence, resents. Yes, it does happen. And yes, it is there. Okay, we all agree. And there's such entity. And that too. Oh, I agree. According to my religion and others, they don't believe in this. No, everybody knows that this. Everybody agrees that this is a reality. It is there. This undeniable reality. This is undeniable reality. Resents. Okay, good. So this is what you call as the empirical reality, which anybody can experience. Okay. So in the academic session, it's my personal choice. In academic session, I always try to talk about the empirical reality. I don't touch the non-empirical reality. With somebody who somebody saints experience, that is their business. It's not our business. They may be experiencing these things I don't experience. For example, Buddha experienced some very profound realizations, samadhi and so forth. I've known this is beyond our scope for the time being. So therefore, I don't touch these areas. I touch only those things which are empirically accepted. Okay. So having said this, what is this mind? So now this mind, we will hear, if you listen to different people, you see that people have different takes on this. Okay. You will oftentimes you're bound to meet with people who will say that nobody can define mind. Right? Nobody can define mind. Nobody knows what mind is. Raise hands. How many of you have heard this? Okay, this is too naive. Right? And some people make things as very easy. There's also too naive. It's not that easy. It is not that nobody could define it. Okay. So what is mind? So mind, let me define it, and we will try to see if it makes sense to us. Don't accept it directly. Don't accept it. Oh, finally somebody's defining it, right? I'm so lucky. No, don't believe. Take it. Take it doesn't mean accept it. Take it, don't reject it. Take it, don't accept it, don't reject it. What should you do? Subject it to analysis, inquiry. And if it makes sense, then you can accept it. If it makes the opposite sense, what is nonsense? Discard it. Discard it. And if you are hazy, right? If you're hazy, okay, it makes some sense, but I'm not getting it, right? Then keep it. Don't accept it. Don't reject it. Okay, this is very important. So the mind that that we're talking about, the empirical, the agent or the entity. I wouldn't use the word agent also. I would say entity, empirical entity, which has the capacity to empathize, capacity for empathy, compassion, intelligence, laziness, or the what, or the punctuality, sincerity, loyalty, and the visionary, having vision. So that entity, what is that? So let me loosely define that as the entity of clarity and knowing. Entity of clarity and knowing. Just note it down, note it down. Don't accept it, don't reject it. Keep it, don't accept it, don't reject it. The entity of clarity and knowing. When I say clarity and knowing, from there you get sense that it's an intangible object. It's not a tangible object. You get some sense. Clarity is so weird. Is not something. Was a table. Table is applying the same flat object with the four legs or three legs, right? So that's very tangible. But when it's a clarity of knowing, it does not have the tangibility. From there, you can sense that it's not a tangible entity. So meanwhile, keep in mind that some people again have their own presuppositions that science is everything. This is again too naive. Why I'm saying this is that there are three kinds of realities in the world. There are three kinds of reality. When I say this, again, don't accept it, don't reject it. Keep it with you and see if it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, and if I don't explain it, raise hands. Okay, this part you said it, but you did not explain it. And if I explained it and still you feel little, said you cannot understand it fully, it may be for you to contemplate more. You're getting it? Whereas if I don't explain it, then you raise hands. Sometimes I may skip. Sometimes I may skip unintentionally. Okay. Same. So what was I saying? Three kinds of realities. So the first one is known as evident phenomena. Evident phenomena. And second one is known as the slightly hidden phenomena. Fourth one is known as very hidden phenomena. Evident phenomena, slightly hidden phenomena, and very hidden phenomena. So these are three kinds of reality. What are they now? The first, evident phenomena. Okay. What is in my hand? What is in my hand? Huh? Don't say diary, right? Because right, you don't know what is inside, right? It doesn't say diary also. And the best thing is, safest thing is to say is a book. A book. That is very safe, right? Just a book rather than diary, your biography, right? So it doesn't tell you anything, just say book. Okay, how do you know it's a book? Who told you that it's a book? Hey, who told you this book? Okay, now you give me a reason. You know, don't be intimidated by my questions, right? Say, be confident. How do you know it's a book?
The conceptual mind identifies it as a book.
Okay, the Nandini is saying, online Nandini is saying that my conceptual mind, it identifies this as a book. Okay, series of pieces come together, we see this is a book. Right? In other words, I know this is a book. I don't go and reason again. How many of you say this? I know it's a book, right? I know it's a book. I know it's a book. It's a book. I don't require any reason to explain this. It's a book. Okay. So what is the evident phenomena? The first one. Evident phenomena are those phenomena which you cognize, which a mind cognizes without the need of any reasons, without the need of reasons for support, without the support of any reasons. Okay, let me say this once more. Evident phenomena are those phenomena which a mind cognizes without the support of any, without support or without dependence on any reasons. Evident phenomena are those phenomena which a mind cognizes without dependence on any reasons. You don't require any reasons. I know that. I can see that. Finish. That is the evident phenomena. Okay. Next is slightly hidden phenomena. For example, say let's say that how many of you agree with me that we are made of atoms? Presents our body is made of atoms. Our body made of atoms. This is empirical reality. But believe it or not, who came up with the concept of the atoms? Anyone? Atoms. I'm not talking about the tiny particles. Huh? Descartes. Okay, scientifically, who was that? Because even the atoms, even the structure of the atoms, it's where the concept developed. Concept developed. Huh? Edinburgh. Dalton. Dalton John. He said the concept of atoms. Okay, let's say that any idea which year, around which year? Okay, it doesn't matter. Maybe somebody is going through Google, right? It doesn't matter. So let's say Dalton John. Let's say Dalton John. Before him, the atom existed, but people did not have any idea. So, like Descartes in East, Descartes was way later in the East, in India. Thinkers, they already thought of all these concepts across the traditions. Samkhya, Vedanta, Vaisheshik. Vaisheshik, they talked about the particles, tiniest of the particles. But they have no idea what is that like. You know, they did not come up with any idea that there's nucleus inside, surrounded by the electrons, inside by the protons, neutrons. Such concepts were not being developed then as much as how it is explained so beautifully by the physicists today. So the point is that it existed in these forms like electrons, protons, neutrons in those days, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. But that was totally hidden in the minds of the common people. So it's a slightly hidden. It's not very hidden because through reasons we can get there. Today, the scientists like Dalton, they come into this concept. Atoms, the concept of atom was before before the articulation of the atom to be centrally, it is the nucleus surrounded by the electrons. That came later. So earlier the concept is very different. So now the solar system, like, and the structure was explained way later. So what I'm saying is that although this concept is a reality in those days, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, but for the people then, it's obscured. They could not know that. So therefore, this is slightly hidden. Why is hidden? And not hidden, not just hidden, it is slightly hidden. Why slightly hidden? If they have the same intelligence as today like Dalton and so forth, then they can also know that. So therefore, it is slightly hidden. Now, what is the third category? Very hidden, very hidden. Very hidden meaning that a class of phenomena which a mind cognizes by dependence on the testimony of somebody else's authority. Let me repeat it. A class of phenomena which a mind cognizes through the testimony of somebody else's authority. There's a very hidden phenomenon. For example, like, okay, let's say your date of birth. Okay, Milinji, would you mind sharing with me your the date, not the year? 18th of October. Okay, let's say no need to tell me the year. Okay. No. That's it. Just keep it confident. 18th of October. 18th October. Okay, you were born on this day. Okay. Okay, the young one. Here, tell me. Are you sure that's your birthday? Huh? Said by parents. And you're not too sure. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure about your date of birth. Listen. I'm not sure. You're sure? No, that's not my point. My point is, how many are sure of your date of birth? Okay, the girl there, Avinash, Anvesha. 7 November. Okay, don't worry about the year. For you, it's fine. When you reach age 15, 16, that don't tell the year. Tell the year rather. So at the moment, it's fine. Right? 7 November. Okay. Are you sure that is your birthday? Are you sure? So look at that. There's a difference between the elders and the young ones. Young ones, their thought is very pure. Elders, they're all affected. Very complicated. Sure, not sure, right? But on this day, if somebody doesn't greet you, you're very angry. You do not say that I'm not sure, right? You're very unhappy when somebody doesn't greet you on that day. But the young ones, they say, I'm very sure. Okay, Anvisha, are you sure? 7th November is your date of birth? Okay. You know that you're born on this day? Very confident? Very good. Okay. So how do you know that you were born on that day? We know that. How can you be too sure? Anyone? How can you be too sure? Your birth certificate. And so that is issued by a doctor. And doctor may be a little drunk at the time. We never know. We never know. Right? So very complicated. So certificate. And some are so weird. So if you ask your parents, Mom, please tell me when was you born? Oh, you're born when it was raining. So weird. You're getting it? Yes, these things happen. And so some people who your parents are so particular with the date of birth certificate and so forth, you may feel it's so weird, but these are things which actually happened. You're getting it? You're born when it was night, trees drizzling. Right? Okay, so the date of birth is very complicated. So you don't see that. It's not an evident phenomenon. And you cannot have a reason, a solid reason to say that I was born in this because of this. You have to have a solid reason. So therefore, it's not a slightly hidden phenomenon. It's a very hidden phenomenon. Very hidden meaning you have to believe in somebody else. You have to believe in the certificate issued by the doctor. You believe in the doctor. You believe in the parents. Even the cesium, the carbon dating and so forth, even they are not 200% accurate. You're getting it. Some of you may be saying that we have these technologies. Even these technologies are not 100% accurate. And in the first place, even what is the second? What is the duration known as the 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second? Even that is prone to change. Even that is not reliable. We see that, oh, it's fixed because of this. The clock is very stable, very reliable. No, the clock is not reliable. Clock, it depends on our label. What is second? And 11 is the label. The second is based on the workings of the change that you see in the cesium element. And this element, the change again differs in time. There's no standard, real standard there. So we have to say that, oh, this is the range of the accuracy. So we don't have real solid reason to say that I was born on this day. So it's not evident. It's not that you have a solid reason. So we have to believe in somebody. The testimony of the authority to somebody else. The doctor is there's the authority. My parents are the authority. So I believe in them. That's it. Beyond this, we don't have any other reasons. This is known as the very hidden phenomena. And yet it's a phenomena, it's a reality. It's a reality which you cannot confirm with the evident, with the solid evidence, no with the inference, no with the solid the inference. You have to trust in the words of somebody else. Yet you're born, you're born on this earth. Nobody can deny this reality. But when you're born on a certain date, certain time. But we're not too sure. So that is known as a very hidden phenomenon. There are three kinds. The reality. Now, science deals with evident phenomena. Science deals with a part of slightly hidden phenomena. It does not deal with all the phenomena. Let's not forget it. It does not deal with all the phenomena. So therefore, science, it only deals with a part of the reality, not the full reality. So many people, they think that we're too naive. Average people, we're not too educated, although we have the capacity to learn a lot. So we have been complacent. Then by the age 20, 25, and then we are happy. Then we, settle with our own life. We don't really put effort to grow further. So the reality is that there are three kinds of realities, and all are realities. But science only deals with evident phenomena and a part of the slightly hidden phenomena. So therefore, another half of the slightly hidden phenomena and the very hidden phenomena, they are totally obscure to the modern science. Let's not forget it. And I personally say that modern science is a very rigorous system. Some people, they are too against modern science. They said, what is modern science? They don't know anything. Our rishis, they pass in 1,000 years, they say like this, they don't know any. No, this is not reality. Right? So, for example, we are in the AC, during the rishi study, there's no AC. We're very honest. We're getting rishis, they may, they say, they may not require the heating system in the Himalaya, in the snow. And we cannot say like this. They help themselves. They cannot help us. This is reality. So today, science has helped us. In like Pune now, we have the cooling system. In the cold places, they have the heating system. That's amazing. We have to accept the reality. So the reality is that modern science, I personally would say modern science is a very rigorous system. Very rigorous system. But you should always be fact-based, saying, well, how much modern science can explain, how much modern science contributed. Don't exaggerate, don't denigrate. So what they did a great job. Modern science is amazing. At the same time, to believe that science can explain everything is also too naive, because science touches the evident phenomena and a part of the slightly hidden phenomena, not the complete phenomenon, not complete reality. If science expands the horizon of the analysis or the inquiry, then it has to compromise its rigor. It has to compromise its rigor. So therefore, I personally say that modern science, the best thing is to maintain its scope of analysis. Don't expand too much. If they expand, they have to risk losing the rigor of modern science. Because as the object becomes more obscured, hidden, very hidden, then the conclusion that you can draw also becomes more obscure, then the rigor will be compromised. Yes, over there. Yes. For example, let's say, what examples do we have for very hidden phenomena? Like the jelly bird is very easy. Otherwise, say, which can be, let's say that for me, on my hand, when I was 7 years old, My hand used to be very cute. Now it's no more cute. You're getting it? So now why not cute? Because then all these marks are coming up, which means old age marks. What do you call them? Not wrinkles. There's another word. Black dots come. Age spots. Okay. S spots start to come. You're getting it? It's not that every evenly it is distributed. No, it comes some places. If you ask why it comes closer to your thumb and not to the other side, science can explain it. You're getting it? You can say the genes, right? The genes. Why have that gene and not the gene for the to have this A spot on the other side, right? You go back, then go back to the Big Bang. At the Big Bang, there's no gene. So these become very obscure. You getting it? So it's the same later on. There's concept of what is known as karma. If you don't include the concept of karma, then there's a pure explanatory gap there. You getting it? So the point is that these realities are something very, very hidden, which we cannot scientifically explain and which we cannot infer through our proper solid reasons. Yes. Okay, do you mean to say that so the question that is asked, what's your name? So what Albert is they asking, correct me if I'm wrong, is asking is that so as a part of this concept of the very hidden phenomena, there can be events of the past, long past events which are responsible in creating what is today. So the thinking about these, okay, now they are responsible in creating these all the undesirable things happening, so you can have more stress. And then what's your question? It's not a question, it's a statement. It's a good question. So the how, by understanding this, how can we use this information that there's the phenomenon known as very hidden phenomena, for example, of the past events, which are truly even very hidden to me. And how can I know this? How can I use this information that there is a set of realities which fall under the category of the very hidden, and how can I use this knowledge of very hidden phenomena that I can curb, that I can mitigate my miseries of today and the future? Good question. Okay, the lady over there. Yes. Okay, this is a good point. Thank you. Okay. The brain, is it evident phenomena? I would say that the brain per se, brain for example, let's say the computer, is it evident phenomenon? The solid computer is evident phenomenon, but the workings of the functions of how the mechanism, how the computer works, the chips, how the electrical information is passed. These are all the slightly hidden phenomena from us. The solid computer is evident phenomena, but the workings and the coding for us is slightly hidden, whereas the coding experts, for them is evident. And the workings of the mind per se is evident phenomenon. Mind per se, because I said that. How many agree with me that that's the entity which can think, which feels empathy, which feels anger, which feels joy, How many of you know that reasons? You don't require any reasons. Yes, you could feel that. That is evident phenomenon. But how this mind works, that can be slightly hidden phenomenon, not very hidden phenomenon. And then within that, there's a very hidden phenomenon also. For example, like say, why my mind is thinking in a certain way. For example, like say that even let's say my accent, say I've been with the Indians for so many years, still I don't pick up the 100% Indian accent. And I've been with Americans and British for so long, still I don't pick up the American accents, the British accent so well. So I have my unique accent, but unique accent doesn't mean that all Tibetans should know. Again, it's very different. So why these subtle differences? Nobody can explain scientifically. Nobody can explain with the solid reasons. So these fall under the category of what is known as very hidden phenomena. Yes. Okay, for the time being, let us keep aside enlightenment. For the king, let's keep aside saying, for time being, what I said is, later on, please touch these areas. This is a very important question. If I would say that for me, if this concept, enlightenment, there's no room for me to think about it. I may not talk about it, but from personally for myself, if I don't think about it, then the purpose of my life is totally zero, purpose zero. So for me, that is very important part, enlightenment. But in the public, will I speak about it? It depends. It depends on the audience. If the audience is like university, I'll never talk about this enlightenment. But only if the students request, then I may touch. Otherwise, I personally will not take initiative to talk about this. I will talk something more empirical. Okay. Okay, last question, because we have a long way to go. Okay, this is a good question. So they say the process of dying, the process of taking birth, this is a very hidden phenomenon. This is a good question. I would say that let's say that even the process of dying has various levels, very gross and subtle and very subtle. Very gross and evident. We can very see is there any doctors, nurses? Are the doctors, nurses? They can see these things almost every day. Okay, now this person's dying. They can see that. It's evident. And for us also. So when I was a young boy, maybe age of, I think about like maybe 13, 14, that was the first time I saw corpse. But okay, not to digress too much. So that is very gross. Then there was a process of dying. So when the dying was happening to your mind, that is the slightly hidden phenomenon. Because we can mimic what this process is like through training. There are trainings to mimic the process of dying so that you can control this mind at the time of death. When it leaves the body, you can control the mind that it doesn't go haywire. So there are techniques there that falls under the slightly hidden phenomena. Okay, so now the question is we are talking about this mind. This mind, so what is this mind? So what we said is that is the entity with clarity and knowing. Entity of clarity knowing. So what is clarity knowing? We have to learn all these things. And if you have questions, with related questions, we'll do that. Otherwise, I would say that let's be a little patient for other questions. Let's be a little patient so that this is a flow. And we have only 2.5 days, right? Okay. So first, what is the first one? Clarity. Okay, clear meaning clarity. Okay. Now let's do one thing. So let us take part in this exercise. Okay, sit up properly. Sit up properly. And think of, now close your eyes. Usually for meditation, it is advisable not to close your eyes. Now, for us, for the purpose of identifying what this mind is like, and let's close the eyes. Okay, close the eyes and think of a flower. Think of a pink flower. Okay, good. Okay, please open your eyes. Okay, good. Now, I'll say for how many of you this a flower came to your mind when you close eyes? Presents? Good. Okay. The flower came to your mind. My next question is that, so that was with the eyes closed or eyes open? Eyes closed. I told you the eyes closed. If you didn't, if the eyes open means you don't listen to my instruction. Okay. Eyes closed. Very good. Now, say that you're in this hall, midnight, 12 midnight, and suddenly there's a power cut, total power cut. Tell me what might be this power. Thank you. Okay, let's say I'm holding a flower, the pink flower. And midnight, 12 midnight, suddenly there's a power cut. And would you see that I'm holding a flower in my hand? You would not see. Why not? Why not? Raise hands. Anyone? Yes. Huh? I said open your eyes. Huh? Anyone? Quick, quick, to save time. The girl over there. It's dark. Which means, in other words, you are saying there's no light. There's no light. Okay. Which means that in order for you to see this flower, there should be a source of light. You agree? Good. Number two, that in the mornings we use mirrors. Yes, we use mirrors. Then say, how many of you have seen reflection of moon on the pond or the water bodies? Raise hands. How many have seen reflection of the moon in the water bodies or ponds? Okay, imagine that the water body, the surface of which, on the surface of which you always see the water, the moon reflection, suddenly there is, for example, the autumn, leaves fall, and the water body is covered by the leaves and the dust and so forth, completely covered. And would you expect reflection moon coming on this? Why not? Quick, to save time. Why not? The surface is not clear. Okay, surface is not clear. Okay, how many agree with it? Sonal resents? Surface is not clear. Okay. Surface is covered. The clarity was missing. It was covered by the dust and the leaves. Which means that, in a way, what you are saying is that in order to have the reflection of the moon on the surface of the water, the surface of the water should be clear. You agree? Very good. Okay, now what's happening when you close your eyes and think of the flower appears. Yes, and that flower that appears to you, is it a real flower or imagination? It's an imaginary flower. It's not a real flower. It's not a real flower. Imagine a flower. Imagine a flower means a reflection of a flower. It's like a reflection of a flower. It's not a real flower. So just as the reflection of the moon to happen on the water surface, well, the water surface should be clear. Likewise, to have the reflection of the flower in a mind, the mind surface should be clear. If it's not clear, the reflection cannot happen. Just as on the water bodies, if the water body surface is not clear, then reflection cannot happen. So likewise, on the surface of the mind, what is that mind like? To talk on the surface, I don't even understand what the mind is like. I know it is there, but I don't see it, right? You don't worry about that issue. Metaphorically speaking, for the reflection of the moon to happen on the water body, the surface of the water body should be clear. How many of you agree with me, sense? If that is the case, by the similar token reasoning, you can say that, even to have the reflection, the moon, reflection of the flower in my mind, the surface of mind should be clear. Okay, to some extent, I agree, it makes sense. Makes sense? It may not be fully, but still, there's a great similarities. Now, so with this, if the surface of the mind is not clear, then you cannot have the reflection of the flower, reflection moon on your mind. By the reflection of mind, the moon happens, reflection moon and reflection flower happens to your mind, which means that the surface of the mind must be clear, I'm not saying it's clear. It's clear meaning that you are seeing it. Must be clear means it must be. For example, like, oh, somebody sacrifices food and give it to somebody. This person must be good. Getting it? Must be good. Okay. So, one. Now the clear and knowing. Clear. The clear has two connotations. One, purity, meaning that it doesn't have any dirt or any obstacles on the surface. That is the meaning of one meaning of clarity. Clear of dirt and clear of the obstacles, number one. Number two, the clarity in the form of the luminosity. Luminosity. Okay, let's say that I don't see the letter clearly. Why? For example, the light is very dim. I don't see the letter clearly. So again, the word clear comes. What will you do? What will you do? The lady there. Light is already there. Light is dim. Huh? Light is up there. I cannot go like this. More light. Make it very simple, right? More light. Okay, mobile light, extra light. Right. So light is what? Illumination. Yes. Light has connotation illumination. So the clarity has two meanings. One, the surface be freed of the dirt and obstacles. Number two, the luminosity. So without in the midnight when there's total power cut, without the light, you cannot see the flower. Without the light, you cannot see the flower. So why we need the light? We need light for luminosity. You agree? Okay. Now, even when you close your eyes in the dark, you think of the flower. Still, you can think of a very bright flower. Can you do that? Yes. So there's luminosity there. It is not external luminosity. It's the internal luminosity. It's not external light. Sometimes it's very scary. Say the external is totally dark, but say you can see very bright things. It's not to your eyes. It's to your mental consciousness. You're getting a very bright things. How many had that experience, Hans? Very bright thing. You're getting it? Actually, the external is totally dark, but then you see very bright things. Particularly people who meditate, it happens. Okay, so there's a bright meaning luminosity. That luminosity for sure is not external luminosity. What is that? It's the internal luminosity. And the service of this mind, which we call as the agent, what is that entity of clear knowing, which has the capacity to feel empathy, have the intelligence, visions, and so forth. That entity is has clarity in turn, because the image can be formed. For the image of the flower can be formed, which means that the surface must be clear, number one. Then number two, that there must be luminosity. That luminosity is not external luminosity, it is internal luminosity. That is the meaning of the clarity, clear, at one point. So if we learn how to meditate on this, is amazing experience. It's going to be an amazing experience. But if anyone likes to do that meditation, I would say that first, since that you are part of the what is that? ABPE, Applied Buddhist Psychology and Ethics. Okay. So because you are doing this course, you are the person who is fit to do this meditation. But you must have a thorough understanding of the Buddhist psychology. You're getting it? When it's a Buddhist psychology, it doesn't mean Buddhism. It's about the set of the psychology which is empirical. Say, on the why empirical is this is something which we can experience empirically. Whereas the Freudian psychology and the Jungian psychology, these are for example, Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud. They are brilliant people. And what they talk, we may not really understand what they're saying. Many of these thoughts, what they're saying is more like we have to believe in this. Because our level of thinking and their level of thinking is very different. Their level of thinking is very smart. Very smart. So therefore, but the Buddhist psychology that we are talking about, Buddhist psychology, this is empirical psychology, which everybody can do. When introduced, you can feel it right there and then. You don't have to go into trance. You understand what I'm saying? Say Jungian psychology, Freudian psychology, oftentimes you talk about the subconscious. You're getting it? Say you go into trance and these manifest. But for the psychology that we are talking about, it doesn't, you don't go into the trance to feel this. So what I'm saying is that this is something which we can feel, and then you are the right person. But study the Buddhist psychology well, thoroughly. Otherwise, it can be a little scary. Scary meaning that the way it takes us, we never know. Way it takes us if you don't go in the proper direction. It can be a little harmful if you don't know how to do it properly. So therefore, usually there are things. How many of you believe in this? Something is better than nothing. Raise hands. How many believe in this? Something is better than nothing. There's also another thing, which nothing is better than something. You're getting it? Don't forget this. Nothing is better than something. For example, if you build a house, and then you do it very hastily you build a house. And finally you see that there's this mistake there, this mistake. Now you demolish everything. So either you build a house properly or don't build. Don't build at all. Why? If you don't build at all, later when you think of building it, you can do a clean work, proper work, where you don't have to waste the extra money for demolishing. And to demolish again, it takes time. It takes resources. Okay, so with this in mind, that this meditation, either do it properly under supervision of a teacher, or don't do it. So when you're ready, then you can do it. Let's not forget this. This is very important. Okay, clarity. What's next? Knowing. Okay, the mirror. Okay, before I jump into this, this reminds me of the one thing which I like to share with you. That I must be, what age? I must be 21 or 22. And one of my teachers who actually spent time in the hermitage, in the mountains, in solitude, Venerable Geshe, Venerable Ganamri Rinpoche. And then as a young boy, just age 21, how old are you? 25. Is anybody 21 years old? 22 years old, 21? 21? Okay. So like I was like this girl's age, 21. And then I asked my teacher, it's about the mind. Mind means, they say, it's very important, but I don't see this. Then I asked my teacher, because he's a meditator, lifelong meditator. I asked him, sir, what's the mind like? And he said, oh, Dorothy, don't you see that? It's like a mirror. It's a mirror where anything can appear. He taught us so like it's so easy. And then I was looking at there's no mirror like. There's nothing there. Right. Okay. So therefore for him it's very easy because he's been meditated on this. Whereas I was studying the novice, just age 21 years old, and I had no idea about this. Okay. So this is something where only through meditation, but a proper meditation. It must be done under supervision of a good teacher, experienced teacher. Okay, next is knowing. Now the mirror, where are the mirror, on the mirror, reflection happens or not? Mirror, reflection happens. Of course, that's the purpose of the mirror, right? Reflection happens. Does the mirror know that the reflection is happening? Does the mirror know that reflection is happening? It doesn't know that. It has the clarity. Without the clarity, image cannot happen. But the image happened, the reflection happened. But it does not have the capacity to know. It has the clarity, it does not have the ability to know. It does not have the cognitive ability. Whereas, how many of you know that when you were thinking of the flower, image of the flower came to your mind? Was that? How many know that? Yes. That is known by that same mind to which is clear, to which the image is formed, and yet also it knows that image is formed. So that mind, which is non-tangible, intangible, non-tangible, and yet it has the quality of the clarity, luminosity, and also has a quality of the knowing. It has that capacity, right? So that agent is not physically visible. So that agent, which has the capacity for the luminosity, the clarity, plus knowing, that is known as the mind. You're getting it? Mind. And this is not about any religion. It's a reality, right? It's a real, whether you believe in a religion or not, this is reality. It's happening in you. How many agree with neuroscience? It's not about religion. It's a reality. You're getting it? Okay. And this reality was even before the 0.3 million years ago. 0.3 million years, Homo sapiens came. And before that, Neanderthal was again another the Homo. So it existed. So even they also have the mind. They also have that quality, but they're unaware of that. So what is the mind? That is your mind. That's your mind. Now, this mind has the quality of knowledge, quality of knowing. This mind has the quality of empathy. That's by the quality of the laziness also. This mind has the quality of the craving. And what's the opposite of loyalty? Loyal. Disloyal. Right? It is quality of loyal. It is quality of disloyal. Both are there. Right? So the point is that is your mind. That is your mind. So now the knowing this, for example, say on the knowing this, then your past knowledge. What have you learned before? What have you learned before? See if you can correlate. First, you try to meditate on this, and then say one session you can dedicate on this. Not really one session. A part of the session we can dedicate on meditate on this mind. This mind. Once you know how to get this, and then it will say once you know how to meditate on this, every time you do that, that experience will go deeper, 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 to the extent that say just with the eyes open, you can still see your mind. You getting it? You can still see your mind as so clear. What my teacher said, like a mirror, so clear, like a crystal clear water. You can see that. Of course, it'll take time. It requires many other factors, and the gross mental agitation, anger, agitation, busyness of mind. All these things must be subsided. And if you really want to see what this mind is like, and all these gadgets, spending so much time on the gadgets, all this must be stopped. Otherwise, our mind will be pulled. It builds a habit of going here and there. Okay, let's say that, between you and me, if there's very fine glass, very clean glass between you and me, and nobody tells you that there's a glass there, and which of the two persons has the capacity to see the glass? Which of the two persons most likely to see the glass? Somebody whose mind is so restless like this, or somebody who's very calm, peaceful, and observant? Which of the two person is more likely to see the glass? One is calm. You're getting it? So therefore, trying to see this, the mind, this like crystal clear glass. Crystal clear glass. For this, you require a very calm mind to observe it. You're getting it? So all these agitations, all the pull and push of your mind, the busyness and so forth, all this must be stopped. If you really want to see what this mind is like. Okay, so on the afternoon, we will not do the meditation of mind because after lunch is very complicated. And then so the mind, you may fall asleep. Okay, so so we have another 5 minutes. Any questions? Yes. Okay, so for the time being, I would suggest keep aside all what you've learned before, what you have heard before. For the time being, it doesn't mean to forget this. This is all garbage. This is not the point. Just keep them aside. Say for the time being. Say, for example, say the empirically speaking. Okay, look, this is a very important point. Thank you for bringing this up. Empirically speaking, in what context you bring up the consciousness? In what context? So these all labels. You're getting it? Labels, they should be reference. What is that reference? In other words, in what context? For example, let's say that so you talk about mind is clear in no way. But if that's the case, then sometimes I feel dull. You're getting it? Sometimes, so this is a reality. I feel dull. I have no focus. So what is that state? Is that a part of mind or not? So these are the empirical reality. You just bring the empirical reality in your life in the part of this discussion. You're getting it? So for example, like when you say consciousness, is it your intellectual learned before that you bring out here, or you have empirically experienced something that you're bringing here? So what I would suggest is bring what you have empirically experienced, empirical reality. Or meditate. Okay, so again, the point is that this is a very serious point. So when I say, okay, it's very easy to say, oh, when you meditate, or keep aside agitation, keep aside the mobile, right? But in the meditation, Instagram keeps coming. You're getting, it's not that easy. You're getting it? So they keep thoughts away. What do you mean by thoughts? All these things not to be taken for granted. These are to be defined very clearly. In the Buddhist psychology, these are very discreetly defined. What is thought? And that too is empirically explained. You're getting it? So not just take them lightly. So for example, say in this, what is that? ABBE class, you have to ask this question: what precisely is thought? What precisely is thought? All these you have to define it clearly. Don't not just take for granted, but you've heard somewhere and read somewhere, you know. Okay, any more questions? Yes. 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 Even okay, now let me these will take us to the greater clarity of the concept. Say what's your name? But simply the same, even the anger is also our mind, 100% yes. Compassion, kindness, also a part of this mind. Yes, they all fall under this category. Category, what we call it, the entity of clarity and knowing. Under this, compassion, anger, intelligence, all these come under the judgment, laziness, all this come under this category. Yes, well over there. Okay, so okay, how to see the clarity? How do you see the clarity when your mind is restless and anxious? Okay, first don't try to see the clarity. Try to stop the anxiety and being the anxious and what is the restlessness. First try to stop the trigger of the restlessness, right? There is not the other way around. First learn quantum physics and then learn Newton physics. First learn Newton physics. First, before learning Shakespearean English, first learn A for apple, B for ball, right? Not a Shakespearean, and then B for apple. You're getting it? Okay. So first, stop all the triggers. So this is a good question. What we need to do is that first, if you are the feeling restless, there's restlessness there with you, and anxious, and you say you want to stop it right now, or you want to stop it in the long run. Okay. So we need two strategies. One, short-term mechanism and long-term mechanism. Short-term mechanism, both are required for the long term. Short-term mechanism, whenever this anxiety or the become anxious, restlessness is happening, say there's a trigger there. Usually it's an external trigger. So whatever trigger, first you try to go to your room. Sit very comfortably like this. Don't sit on very too soft sofa. It'll make your mind dull. So just sit on a very moderately soft the space or a seat, and without any external disturbance. Like no, just be very steady in that place, and take just don't try your best not to think of anything else. Just focus on your breath, deep breath. Just take deep breath in, out, one cycle. Do it like 7 times and 21 times. Okay, why 21? Why not 22? You got it? Don't ask these questions. If you're more happy with 22, do 22. You're getting it? Okay, don't waste your time. Okay, so do this breath, your breath and your psyche, your mind. These are very closely connected. When your mind is focused on the breath, that disturbance on the psyche subsides. That's very important. So once that subsides, then they say try to still you try to look for ways means to stop the agitation, restlessness, so forth. Further, the subtle version of these, try to stop. If possible, try to observe this restlessness. Observe the mind of the restlessness. Where is this restlessness? Just keep observing it with the eyes open. Keep observing it. Where's the restlessness? Where's the uneasiness? Keep observing it. Keep observing it. And finally, when you see that some movement is happening around your heart, happiness is, say, turbulence is happening around your heart, just look at your heart and mentally observe it. What is that like? What is the physiological, the movements happening around that part, heaviness, or some movement like this happen. So just keep observing it. As you when you become good at it, when you become good at this observation, then what happens is that it's like a miracle. Instantly, that this disturbance subsides simply by the part of observing it. And the mechanism, I need to explain the mechanism, how that is happening. Because your mental consciousness, so how many you do multitasking in your kitchen? Okay. Is there anyone who wants to give me an example? What kind of multitasking do you, real quick? Anyone? Anyone raise hands? Raise hands, raise hands, raise hands here. Okay, roti and sabji at the same time. So one, okay, let's see. One roti, on one hand roti, one hand sabji. Be very honest. No, that's not true. Sabji roti, while the roti is okay, so what I'm saying is that your roti is say you're confident that your roti will okay for the next 2 seconds, you move here. Right, sabji. And then you're confident that for the next 2 seconds, sabji is okay, you move in the roti. It's actually not multitasking. Or we conventionally call it multitasking. You're getting it? Some majority, in most cases, the boys cannot do that. You know, in most cases, some boys can. I can do that. You're getting it? Okay. So what I'm saying is that the say here we see that we call it a multitasking. Multitasking. Actually, it's not multitasking. So, in this case, let's say that your mind, when observing what's happening, the disturbance, agitation, and so forth, what is happening is that actually it's your mind which only works at one thing at a time, not 2 things at a time. But we call it multitasking because you do it, and with 2 seconds you move there. So it moves so fast. Actually, it's one thing at a time. So likewise, our mind, if you train your mind so well, when you feel the disturbance, where do you feel the disturbance? Heaviness, where do you feel it? Around the chest. Raise hands. Around the heart and the chest. Okay. Now, you could feel it there, which means that your mind, empirical agent, empirical entity that we're talking about, which feels, that is taking the place of the in the form of the agitation, feeling the agitation. Now, when you use the same mind to observe, as an observer, what is happening is that you have a roti and sabji 2 seconds, 2 seconds. So 2 seconds, the feeling, 2 seconds, quickly go as observer. You're getting it? Quickly as observer and quickly go down. Because you are not trained. You train more, then it will continue to be observer. When it continues to be the observer, you are continues to be the roti, then the sabji is burnt. So likewise, when your mind continues to be the observer, observe, agitation gone. You're getting this is a very powerful meditation. It's amazing. But this is a very short-term strategy. It's not a long-term solution. Now you do this, and the long-term solution, you have to learn this empirical psychology well, and then you have to dedicate a certain amount of time of your on meditation on a daily basis to observe this mind. To observe this mind on a daily basis. Don't expect that you do it very quickly, 10 hours a day, and then you get it. Don't expect that. How many of you had experience of, how many of you had the tuberculosis in your life, presents? Tuberculosis, TB. TB, 1, 2, 3 in myself, 4. That's it. Okay. So if you ever, what's your name? Srishti. If ever you come to suffer from tuberculosis, don't take the antidepressants like, no, antibiotics like isoniazid, rifampicin, ethambutol. Don't take them like, say, what is otherwise to be taken in 10 days, don't take in 1 day. It'll kill you, not help you. You're getting it? So these to be taken in dose form. So meditation, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not like 10 hours a day. It'll kill you. So you do it by dose on daily basis, and within 6 months, then tuberculosis is over. Like that, within some span of time, then you will start to see the clarity of your mind, like the clear water or like the clear mirror. You will see that. Okay, good. We'll stop here. Yes, please. Cool.